Welcome back to another episode of Stack Racks TV. Stack Rack Boxing. We talk boxing, but we do talk from time to time. You catch my drill. The main purpose, the main prerogative, the primary purpose of this channel, right, is for y'all to sit back, relax, Mac Jack, Slack Jack, and Jack. Today, per a subscriber's request, I need to stretch out my video. I need to make my videos longer. So this is going to be my first time, giving y'all a long video. A lot of people get in the comments. They're like, hey, bro, why you call him Sheriff Debo Brown, right? And that's very simple. Y'all heard it here first. It's no other channel calling him Sheriff Debo Brown. And like I said before, right now, he putting folk in a yoke and locking folk up. People talking about Devin Haney with no intention on fighting Devin Haney, only for promotion of a bout that they got coming up. Let me tell y'all this right here, right? A sheriff's job is to protect and serve the community. Devin Haney not just serving and protecting the community now, right? He's serving and protecting the boxing world, right? Demonstrating what it is to be a real fighter. This guy not only got talent, the skills, the accolades, the accomplishment. This guy got willpower. And certain people, especially in this boxing space that we in, don't have that willpower. Devin Haney is willing to fight the best at the drop of a pen. Quick, right? But what people aren't ready to do is sign a contract, and it confused me only because, this was a guy that was pillow-fisted, had no power. But in one fight, he demonstrated not only the fact that he had power, but, he'll put you down and he'll throw you off your whole game plan, and he'll have you going back to your corner. And everybody, you know how you go back to your corner, you done had a rough round. They're like, hey, let's keep your hands up, keep your guard up. When he sends you back to your corner, your trainer gonna be like, damn. And a lot of these guys right now, they're forced into continuing that narrative because they don't want to be men and say, man, you know what, I was wrong, right? So what a hater gonna do, you gotta understand that some people are naturally born to hate. Like they came out the womb hating. Why he get to get a bigger bottle? Why he get to get a couple pieces of chicken? Why it's a lot of people that came out the womb hating, right? And what a hater gonna do is this: what y'all gotta pay attention, right? When a hater hate, they like to join forces with other people that got the same quality traits of hating. Why? So that hate can be a lot more bigger. It can be a lot more stronger. And that's what activate a hater, right? That's what get a hater activated when other people, oh, you willing to hate with me, right? And a lot of people are forced now to stay in hater mode because they can't become appreciative of Devin Haney and his skills because of the narrative that they continuously push on their channels, right? Everybody know that Devin Haney got a beautiful jab. Now the world know that he got enough power to put you down. Catch my drift, right? And everybody knows that from fight to fight, this guy gets better. And what's messing up the game right now, especially the sport of boxing, is, guys are more willing to get online and request a fight versus saying, hey, bro, send the contract over. I'm going to have my manager, my lawyer go over it tonight, immediately. And I'm at, because that commercial, I want my money and I need it now. Why wouldn't your lawyer your manager want a percentage? They getting a percentage, right? If you're not fighting, they're not getting no percentage, right? I'm not seeing none of these guys say, hey, bro, send over a contract. I'm going to shoot it right back over. We fighting next. I'm seeing everybody talking hypothetical, talking about maybe if I drink more milk, I eat more green beans, I'm going to move up to 147 pounds, and take on that challenge. I'm going to start lifting weights. Give me a couple more fights. Well, he going to have to come down. He going to have to be dehydrated. I'm going to have to put a clause on him. I'm hearing everything but, hey, bro, I sent that contract back to you. What's up? You know what I'm saying? And like I said before, that matters when you're going against a guy like Sheriff Debo Brown, because it's not no question, if he willing to sign a contract. It's not no question if he willing to step up and fight the best. It has never been a question, right? He's demonstrated that his entire Keyshawn Davis and Shakur Stevenson shouldn't even be worrying about a guy like Devin Haney, right? You know, he got business to take care of at 147 pounds. You know, unifying the belts, you know, and ultimately becoming undisputed like the world believes that he can, right? You know, these guys should be focused on the guys in their weight class, right? You know, Keyshawn Davis got a very important fight coming up. Shakur Stevenson as well. You know, these guys need to focus on unifying for their titles at their respected weight classes, right? Before looking at moving up to fight a guy like Devin Haney, who's not only displayed his talent, you know, time and time again, you know, he's done it on a world stage, right? This Shakur Stevenson first opportunity, you know, to get his name out the mud in the sport of boxing, right? You know, like I know, Shakur Stevenson has all the skills in the world. You know, a defensive magician. Beautiful in there. I personally don't think he's a born fighter. I personally think he's one of the best in the sport right now and should be higher on the pound for pound list. Shakur Stevenson right now needs to change the perception of fans, especially, you know, if he wants to get more attendance. You know, he want to get more people buying his fights, right? You know, he should be focused on changing his perception in the sport of boxing prior to, you know, getting up there, moving up and fighting a guy like Devin Haney. Right? You know, Shakur Stevenson right now with Teofimo Lopez has the perfect opponent to not only display his skills against, to go in there and look spectacular, right? You know, Shakur Stevenson, we already know, you know, his offensive capabilities, you know, his defensive capabilities, you know, but him going into this fight, you know, he should be focused on proving a point not only to himself, you know, not only to the people, you know, that's at the 140-pound division, right? Especially if he chooses to stay at the division, but to change the sentiment of fans. You know, and I think if he can do that, you know, he'll become bigger than ever, especially with the skills that this guy. I feel the same way about Keyshawn Davis. You know, him coming into this fight with Jermaine Ortiz has the perfect stage, the perfect opportunity to display his skills to the masses, right? You know, turkey cards touch the world, right? And it's the perfect time for him to go in there and look incredible, right? You know, Keyshawn Davis, beautiful jab, strong jab, you know, a lot of power in both hands, you know, good footwork, a good boxer. You know, what I like the most of those long, you know, he can pretty much catch you hard from anywhere on the inside with those long arms, right? You know, and like I said before, I understand the focus on Devin Haney because obviously him coming off that phenomenal performance, you know, he got the juice right now, you know, and, you know, it assists you in promoting your fight. But, you know, stay focused, right? Jermaine Ortiz is a game opponent. Jermaine Ortiz is coming into this fight to win. And like I said before, you know, Keyshawn Davis has the perfect opportunity to lock in, stay focused, change the sentiment of fans. You know, fans still think, you know, he unprofessional from, you know, that fight where his brother lost. You know, they still think he unprofessional from coming in missing weight. You know, in this fight right here, especially, you know, how he conducts himself before and after this fight can really boost his stock in the sport of boxing. Keyshawn Davis is one of them wild cards. You know, beautiful to watch, exciting to watch. You know, and like I said before, you know, the focus on Devin Haney right now, we need to push that to the side. Focus on the guys in your division right now. Make the best fights you can in your division right now. You know, seek to unify. You know, seek to ultimately become undisputed. And work your way up to where a Devin Haney fight makes sense.